Welcome back, one and all, to the F1 2018 career mode, and you join me for a track returning to the calendar this year. It's the German Grand Prix, and the first time we've visited the old Hockenheim ring with this sort of spec of a Formula 1 car. You know, last time we were here was 2016, still same sort of engines, but, you know, still the higher rear wing, the slimmer tyres, so this is going to be an experience. There's some very high-speed corners around this circuit, and I think that the up-to-date cars will definitely carry quite a lot of momentum through it. But awful time at the British Grand Prix. I was assassinated by Marcus Ericsson, and we need to bounce back. And I think, you know, in our rookie year, it's good for us to have that sort of setback to see how we can bounce back. You know, we're seeing it with Leclerc in real life. What can we do with ourselves here? We go into quali, and more bad news. There was a lubrication system fault, take with that as you will, going into qualifying. So that meant, you know, I had a couple of minutes to sit out, so I figured, you know, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the setup that I'm going to run. So take the fuel out of the car. We want to be as minimum fuel as possible. Still want to keep a bit of the downforce, but get a decent bit on the front end. Mess around with the diff. I'm on a pad, so, you know, it's difficult for me. Especially with having like all four wheels rotating, so it can be a hard one to deal with, but I always bump up the brake pressure because I like to brake nice and late into the corner. So here we go, hot lap down towards turn 1, take as much room as possible and then clip it as much as you can get away with. I did push the boundaries a little bit, but nonetheless we charged towards turn 2, a sharp right-hander, took the apex a little early if you compare it to my Delta, but still a decent bit of acceleration out of it, and it's the fastest first sector of the session so far. We're up by a tenth. It's all power max and overtake mode down towards the hairpin, 205 miles an hour before we slam on the brakes, go a little wide of the apex, keep it in second gear though. That's going to allow us for a better exit and get to a higher top speed. This was one of those circuits that was very heavy on ERS, so I had to manage it in the middle sector by bumping it up to high. As we go again for the left hand of the Mercedes, big Mercedes-Benz grandstand there. Me and my Mercedes-powered Force India charging past, taking the curb, really out wide there through the second sector. We're down by half a second through there, and then committed through the Sachs curve down to 6th or 7th gear, and then through the left hand, a long hairpin, drift it out wide, use the curb if necessary. We didn't on this lap, then ride the curbs, get it set up nice and wide for a late apex through the double right hander, go wide, lose a bit of time, tucks it in nicely on the power, hot lap mode on exit. We've lost a little bit on the way to the line, but it's up to P6 with a 1:12.6. I felt as if that was the absolute maximum I could get out of the car, and it actually ends us up with P7 in there. And so Vettel on pole from Hamilton, Raikkonen and Bottas, then the Red Bulls a little bit further behind. Then it's myself in a league of my own, almost ahead of both Renaults and Sergio Perez, rounding off the top 10 there. And really felt, the car felt good. The car felt really good. I don't know what it was around Silverstone that really didn't work out for me, but the Force India, I think it was just the extra I had on the nose just allowed it to be really pointy. And on 2016, I felt as if I wasn't actually able to attack the final sector. I was very reserved and I was losing a lot of time. But in this year's game, the car really felt good through the final sector. So I realised after qualifying that I was using some quite worn components. Ocon, who was in the car before me, had already taken a new ICE, so I'm actually going to go to the second ICE, the third one that's actually seen some use. We'll take a new MGUK. MGUH is looking okay so far. It's only at 21% worn, so I was sort of debating it, but you know, it looks as if we're going to be okay on the MGUH as far as it comes to engine components. So that's all we're going to take leading up to the Grand Prix. Now we're going to head in to the race for the German Grand Prix.
There's nowhere at all I'd rather be today than here at Hockenheim for the German Grand Prix. We have an incredibly competitive field this year, which means we should be in for a treat. And judging by the sea of people filling the grandstands, there's a fair-sized chunk of Germany that agrees with me. It's 2.8 miles around the Hockenheim ring then, with an average lap speed in excess of 130 miles per hour. The long curved back straight leads into a tight hairpin for the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, but there are plenty of other options available around the 17 corners here today. With With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk briefly about Kimi Räikkönen. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be, it's about effective damage limitation.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
I agree, Jeff. So we've moved up to P6 on the grid because of Kimi Räikkönen's penalty. So looks to be a 2-stop. There was no way I can make the 1-stop work around Belgium. Germany. Sorry, I keep, misplacing where this track lies in the calendar. But we have 5 red lights for the German Grand Prix. Lights are out and we're underway. Verstappen got an absolutely electric launch off the line. He's left me for chips going into turn 1. Hulkenberg got past me originally as well. We have to go out wide as the car understeered wide. Got an illegal overtake on Hulkenberg. Feather the throttle, and that's going to allow the Renault man back through. He's going to be attacking Max Verstappen, and I've got Kimi Räikkönen up behind me. He's gone through, and so is Perez nearly through turn 3, but we drifted out wide, keep ahead of our teammate, but we're down 2 positions on the charge down towards the hairpin for the first time of 34. We're rich in hot lap mode, and Räikkönen is attacking Nico Hulkenberg into the hairpin. We're going to brake late. Hulkenberg very slow. Räikkönen's up alongside Max Verstappen already, and he's going to get him on traction just about, but Verstappen's going to get back in there. But Kimi, with the power advantage, pulls ahead to Räikkönen, already up from 8th into 5th. We've dropped down to P7 because of Räikkönen's progress, but initially it looked like we were going to lose 3 places. Instead now it's only the 1, and of course it is against a Ferrari, who we're not really going to be racing here this afternoon. So end of lap 2, we're still burning a bit of the fuel. We're medium on battery. Vettel setting the pace on a 15.9 as the opening lap, and Hamilton beats it with a 15.8. We've got a 16.7, so we're about a second off the pace, and we have Nico Hulkenberg for company, and he's still company for us come the end of lap 3. Beginning of lap 4, we turn in. I've gone very wide there, pushing the track limits. That was a section of the circuit where it is very hard to keep it in boundaries of the circuit if you're keeping yourself very committed there. But the leading pack, aside from Sebastian Vettel, hasn't really got away from us there. We're only a second behind Verstappen, and we do actually have DRS, but Nico Hulkenberg's got a lot more than just DRS as he tears past us on the lead up towards the hairpin, but he doesn't get too far ahead of us, so a bit of late braking, send it straight back up the inside of the Renault man. And it's the man that I've said multiple times during this career mode, he is my rival. And Perez there, because of the way that I pushed him wide, Perez was actually able to get through on traction, so very impressive stuff from Sergio Perez. I think I found the problem with the leading pack. It was the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas looked very slow. That everyone else has got past him. We looked to be in a brilliant position to get past him until I've understeered into the grass there, and that's actually hampered my acceleration. So you did see me bump it up to overtake briefly. We're going to drop it back down to medium and save some more ERS, continue to burn the fuel. But yeah, Bottas very slow at this stage of the Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo also there battling with his teammate. Räikkönen now up into 3rd place, leading the 2 Red Bulls, and they are pulling away from Valtteri Bottas. But by the end of lap 5, my ultra soft tyres have had enough. I've butchered the pit entry, I must admit, but now we're going to attack the line, get it down to 47 miles an hour, and we're coming in for our first of 2 pit stops here from the ultra soft to the soft compound tyre. What's the time going to be by the Force India boys? 2.4. We've had to be held for the Renault of Carlos Sainz, unfortunately, so Hulkenberg is actually continuing on the ultra soft tyre. That means he's going to get the overcut on us there. So Hulkenberg was of course up behind us. He wasn't harrying us too badly, but let's see what effect that's actually going to have on the Grand Prix as a whole now, because we've got 28 laps to go, so 14 laps on each set of soft compound tyres. They felt okay on the car. I definitely felt that I could push them and not take the life out of them too badly. So here we go. It's the end of lap 6 now. Everyone else is going to be in the pit lane. Räikkönen has of course pulled ahead, and you see chopping and changing of the order as everyone comes out the pits. That includes the Mercedes. Cars are coming out the pit lane. There is our teammate Sergio Perez, and he's actually jumped Nico Hulkenberg during the pit stop phase. Verstappen is ahead of me, and that looks to be the Mercedes of Bottas has got back ahead of Verstappen, so whatever issues he was having clearly have been resolved. But now, as we move into the straight for the first time here, after our pit stop, Perez is going to be attacking me, both of us on fresh tyres. Perez draws alongside. Is he going to be able to commit to the move down the outside? I don't squeeze him, I leave him the room into the hairpin, and Sergio Perez gets me on outright traction. You would have expected me to have the better exit on the wider line, but unfortunately my traction was awful at that hairpin all weekend long. Perez has just left me behind there, so, you know, he's my teammate. I'm going to let him go and attack if he can, and I'm going to try and see if he can pull me along, because we do have effectively what's going to be a season-long battle with these Renaults, but Perez very slow through one. I stayed more committed with DRS. I'm allowed to power back past him out towards turn 2. We've gone deep on the brakes though, and that's going to allow Perez straight back through. A bit of contact with our wheels just there, compromised my line by keeping it tight. That's going to allow me to duck into the slipstream of Perez, open up the DRS, move to the right hand side of the circuit, which is the inside for the upcoming hairpin. That's going to put us right ahead of him, and Hulkenberg is going to try and follow me through. Can Perez try and hold the move round the outside? Yes, indeed he can. Compromise his exit a little bit, meaning he wasn't actually able to come back at me, but great racing between myself there and Perez, and now, come lap 11, we've caught the traffic. So you see Verstappen ahead of me there has got through already. These are the guys that started on the soft compound tire. I'm going to be running deep into the Grand Prix to swap to the mediums at the end. So this is Brendan Hartley struggling through the fast right-hander, and I've had to commit to the right-hand side, and I wasn't able to get through on braking, but on the bumpy part of the track, so much more downforce and grip on the softer tyres that I've just been able to drive clean around the outside of the Toro Rosso, man. I thought that was a fairly impressive move, personally, because that circuit out there is not great. You know, the undulation and the bouncing that you see is very real. And we were able to drive around Hartley even on that surface. That then lined me up for a shot at Marcus Ericsson, and once again just carried myself through turn 1. Ericsson goes defensive early. Thank you very much. We'll go right around the outside. Ericsson pinches himself on the apex. Initially defends it quite nicely, but foolish fall allowed me to get better traction, sit in his slipstream, open up the DRS, bump it up to rich mix. I'm just on low ERS at this point. I know that I've got this move made. I don't need to bump it up. There we go, up to high though, because Hartley is going to have a go. It was 3 wide very momentarily as Hartley has a go at us into the hairpin. We squeeze him a little bit onto the apex, compromise his apex speed, and then just get the better exit versus Brendan Hartley. So we're into rich mix. Hartley's going to have another go maybe through the right hander. He drops back, realises that was not a smart idea, as I would have just squeezed him once again. So we've lost a little bit of time to Verstappen ahead of us, but we weren't really racing him. Come lap 13, we're now up behind the guy in our old car. So I guess Sirotkin, feint to the right, go to the left, down the inside of the hairpin. We're not really racing Sirotkin because he's got one more pit stop to make, I've got one more pit stop to make, and now we're ahead of him on circuit. So we're in the faster car with a faster driver, so we should theoretically be passing him. We're now back on the fringe of the points. Verstappen currently holds that in 10th place, and we're still hanging on to Verstappen quite nicely. We're only 1.5 seconds back from him. Now, interestingly enough, leading into the next sequence of corners, Sirotkin was going to have a go, or looked like he might have been in position to have a go down the straight into the hairpin. That did not happen, but you can see we're pushing the absolute limits of the car coming into the stadium section, and we're getting dust on our tyres, and that's really not going to help the front end through the long left-hander, but yeah, still pushing, as we do have 2 pit stops left to make, and you know, this is one of those ones where I physically can't do a 1-stop. I'm shoehorned into this 2-stop, and I still want to make it successful. So we're back up to P7 by lap 16, which is of course the lap, which was of course the position we pit from, sorry. And we've got Kevin Magnussen ahead of us, who is in the Haas. He's diving into the pits for his one and only pit stop of the afternoon for a set of medium tyres. So you could argue we're racing Magnussen in this Grand Prix, because we were right behind him as he pit, and we've got one more pit stop left to make in this race. So you can see there I had burned off all my rich mixture on that last lap. So by the end of lap 19, I had to save a bit of fuel and go to low ERS. So that hampered me on in-lap, and could mean potentially that there are cars that are going to have better in-laps than me, and I was very cautious on pit entry. So let's see if either Perez or Hulkenberg can do something about that. Is it a good stop from the Force India boys? Yes, it is. 2.4 seconds. Lovely, lovely stuff. Save as much fuel and battery as possible. We're up to 100% charge that we can now utilise coming out of the pits. Is Charles Leclerc going to get past us? Yes, he is, unfortunately, so we're going to have to try and battle him. He is on medium tyres, though, so we should hopefully be able to get him down this back straight. Yellow flags, car pulled off. Oh, it's Magnussen has gone for a spin. So I've said there that he was going to be racing me, and it turns out all he's going to be racing his other cars back to the pits, because he is out of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we're up to rich and high. DRS slipstream versus Charles Leclerc. We're going to go to the outside. Leclerc realises that it's pointless fighting that move into the hairpin, because he's got more worn tyres, harder tyres, just not worth a battle. So So by the end of lap 20, other cars have pulled into the pits. There is the Renault that we are trying to beat. Can we get past it? It looks like it's going to be comfortably by a couple of seconds ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. We actually have the Williams of Lance Stroll just up the road there, so we are going to be racing him to the end of the Grand Prix. We've both made our final pit stops. What is the gap to Lance Stroll? Our survey says as we cross the line, it's 3.5 seconds, but we've set a personal best and fastest first sector of the Grand Prix so far, so this was it. All the cars ahead of me have made their final pit stops. It's about getting our foot to the floor and catching them. Every position we gain now is going to affect our finishing position. Currently we're on for points. We set a personal best of a 15.9 into the 15s, which is only 6/10 off the fastest lap, set by Lewis Hamilton, gap down to within 2 seconds. Unfortunately though, Hülkenberg was also running very quick at this phase of the Grand Prix, so it looked like it was going to be a fight between ourselves to the finish here, so I need to get as many cars between myself and Hülkenberg as physically possible. As we go purple again, gap down to 2 seconds to Stroll, and by the end of lap 23, we are right on the gearbox of the Williams, who, as we know, I drove for, is awful through the corners. I'm pushing him through the long hairpin. You can actually see I've burned up all of my rich mix. I'm now under target, so we're going to have to go about saving that. But as Stroll struggles through the double right-hander, are we going to stick in his slipstream? I had to take a confidence lift due to dirty air through the right-hander. That means Stroll's going to get ahead of me. I mean, we can't make any kind of move into turn 1. Not that I would think to, but Stroll not able to carry the momentum I was. Slight tap on his rear end of the car, so we're going to brake early and just filter in behind him into this right-hander, because it then just means we're going to have a better run through the next couple of corners, and it means we're going to be in DRS position, and it will just make the move a hell of a lot easier to line him up on this back straight. Rich mix, overtake mode, use all the battery. Is Stroll going to defend? He does, but we duck to the outside anyway. That sets us up nicely to defend, nice and early braking for Stroll to the outside. He's not coming back from that move. He's not going to switch back underneath us because of the way we played it. And now we're just going to use the rest of our battery to pull away and then save now. We're going to be saving the fuel in standard mode because Alonso is in P7. Fantastic drive by the McLaren man, but he's only just up the road, and another finishing position and 2 more championship points could be up for the taking here as we chase down Alonso. 3.2 seconds is the gap. 10 laps left of the Grand Prix. We get our head down. Hülkenberg held up behind Stroll, actually, so he lost a little bit more time than I did. That's helped me build the gap. It's 2.4 seconds there as we move on to lap 27. It was just pushing as hard as I could on standard and medium, so I need to keep an eye and build my battery and get the fuel back, because when I catch up to Alonso, I want it to be a clean overtake. I want it to be a, you know, a rich and an overtake, just blast past him and get on with the rest of the race. So lap 29, the gap still hasn't come down that much. Hülkenberg is closing in on me. You can see there it's still 1.9 seconds here. I did find that if there was any sector, believe it or not, that I was closing on him, it was this middle sector. The Force India just felt glued to the road, and come lap 30, look at the level of commitment and speed that we're carrying through into the stadium section. I was just laser focused on the gearbox of that McLaren, thinking I'm going to catch him and I'm going to have him. So here you can see we've saved up a little bit of fuel and standard mix and not even that much battery, but if I went down to lean and low, we would not have got the position. We would not have caught Fernando Alonso like we've caught him now. So now we're in a second. That is exactly what I need to do, get myself into DRS. So we had it on the main straight, we've got it on the run up to turn 2, and that's going to put us perfectly in position to do exactly what I wanted. We've got nearly 30% battery. It's not a lot, but it should be enough. On lap 31, up to rich, up to overtake mode in the slipstream of the McLaren Renault. We're going to pull to the right hand side. Alonso defends far too late. We've got well ahead of him. Brake nice and late into the hairpin. Make it so he can't come back at us. Job done. Up to P7. And now we can just try and pull away from Alonso. Get him out of our DRS, because that's the only way he's going to come back at us. This car is too fast in a straight line for Alonso to be able to have a go at us without DRS there. And that will be P7 all but secured. But to do that, we're going to try and harvest a little bit of the battery. Let's see the final sector. Well, I've not done a very good job literally using the limits of track and curb just there. The final sector is where we were making up the most time, and there's no way he could get an overtake done. So come a lap later, Alonso is not quite there to be able to take the move, although we are getting notice from Jeff that the tyres are not quite going to make it. But you saw there, up to rich, up to medium, 2 laps left of the Grand Prix. I should be able to run rich for the remainder of this Grand Prix, so that's exactly what we're going to try and do. Hülkenberg is now caught up to the McLaren man of Fernando Alonso as well, but he's not going to be able to do anything about it as we move to the hairpin at the end of the straight on lap 33. P6 is about, oh sorry, P7 is about to become P6 as Daniel Ricciardo retires from the German Grand Prix as Vettel breaks into the 14s with the 14.8. We are now up to back where we started in this Grand Prix. We're trying to chase down Romain Grosjean, but unfortunately just not enough laps left to be able to catch the Haas, and Hulkenberg did get through on Alonso in the end, but Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari wins the German Grand Prix. Excellent result for him. That would be ahead of both Mercedes in their backyard, but we're going to come around the final corner using up all of our fuel and battery, charge towards the line, Silverstone Redemption and P6.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
So there you have it. Sebastian Vettel leads home a Ferrari 1-2 on Mercedes soil there, but wins his home Grand Prix with Lewis Hamilton in P3. Max Verstappen does beat Max Verstappen does get P4, beats Bottas. Where the hell was Valtteri Bottas? Down in 11th place, pulled a 3-stop, but Romain Grosjean pulled off the 1-stop to perfection up to P5 from P12. Just shows how competitive the midfield can be there. We, of course, get P6, Nico Hulkenberg P7, then Alonso nearly following up to Grosjean, but just lost a couple of positions there near the end of the race. Perez gets a couple of points in 9th, and Lance Stroll still getting a point for Williams there, but Bottas not sure what he was trying with that 3-stop, because that definitely did not work. Our retirees from this Grand Prix are Daniel Ricciardo and Kevin Magnussen. So moving on to the driver's standings there, Verstappen overtakes Hulkenberg, but only by a point there, so we're still fighting Hulkenberg for best of the rest. Hulkenberg on 72 points, ourselves now up to 64, and like I said, that is going to be a battle for the rest of the season to be the best driver that's not in Mercedes, Ferrari or a Red Bull. That is quite a coveted spot for us midfield runners, and I intend to take it. We move on over now to the constructors side of things, where Ferrari regain the lead over Mercedes with a dominant fashion there. They've gone from 4 points behind to 24 points ahead. You can see their Renault just again sitting in P4, 16 points clear of Force India. So if I can continue to beat Hulkenberg, and if Perez can then continue to wrap up a couple of points as well, that'll be very good for us, because I'm aiming for P7 in the drivers and P4 in the constructors. That's my target for the end of the season. But let's have a chat with Claire.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing.
I would hope so. A P6 in that Force India, which is still apparently the 6th or 7th best car, you know, and it makes me happy. Making them happy makes me happy.
Did you have the wrong fuel strategy today, or was it your management?
So I'm not too sure what this comment is really aimed at. Obviously, I went into the negative on fuel, so I don't know what they're saying. So it's just, I'll be honest, and I ran rich for too long.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So here we move on to the rep. So you saw that comment, dropped my rep with Force India, and my rep's actually gone down with the top 3 teams as well. So I don't know why. It's also gone down my Haas. I'm not too sure why that's happened, but and one of my answers was quite sportsman-y, so that's moved me in that sort of direction. But it is what it is when it comes to sort of my standings. I feel as if my results do more of my talking than what I say to the media. You know, I mean, Silverstone was a shambles, you know, but we will get redemption for that. Hopefully next year. Who we're going to be driving for, who knows? But definitely the right result we needed today. You know, Grosjean beating us to the line. I mean, he's got some pace. Roman, and that Haas is a car we need to watch out for. But good recovery drive, exactly what we need to do to prove ourselves here in our rookie season of Formula 1. That has been the German Grand Prix for the first time in a couple of years, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did and comment any feedback down below. Next time out, we have the Hungarian Grand Prix. One that definitely didn't prove too well for me on last year's game. I had lost a lot of pace. You know, if you look at my Season 3 in particular on 2017, I was just nowhere. So we'll see how the Force India handles around there. It is a track that favours more downforce and cornering over speed, which of course are again, similar to the Williams, the biggest, best component of the Force India is its engine. But we will see next time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix. If you don't want to miss that, then please subscribe and enable the notifications to never miss an update that comes to the channel. And I will see you all next time.